Why does prophecy comfort some people, yet terrify others? For some, it's a lifeline of hope. For others, it's a nightmare they'd rather avoid. The difference isn't in the prophecy itself, it's in the heart that receives it. When God speaks about the future, it either anchors your faith or shakes your fear. It either pulls you closer to Him or He exposes how far you've drifted. Think about how people treat news headline. One person hears about economic collapse and panics because their security is in money. Another person hears the same news and shrugs because their hope isn't tied to a stock market. Same event, different response. Prophecy works the same way. For some, it's fuel for faith. For others, it's fire on their fears. And here's the truth. Prophecy was never meant to leave you neutral. It confronts you. It calls you. It demands a response. So today, let's ask the question, why does prophecy terrify some but comfort others? For the Lord Himself will descend from heaven with a cry of command, with the voice of an archangel, and with the sound of the trumpet of God. And the dead in Christ will rise first. Then we who are alive, who are left, will be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air. And so we will always be with the Lord. Therefore, encourage one another with these words. Notice Paul's language. The Lord Himself, not an angel, not a messenger, will descend. This is personal. The one who died for you is the one returning for you. He comes with a cry of command. That's authority. The voice of an archangel. That's power. The trumpet of God. That's finality. And the result? The dead in Christ rise first. Then those alive are gathered with them. No believer is forgotten. No one is left behind. And Paul doesn't say, so scare each other with these words. He says, encourage one another. Because prophecy, at its core, isn't written to terrify God's people. It's written to steady them. Prophecy is not a horror script. It's a rescue plan. It's not about doom. It's about deliverance. And the comfort comes when you realize the God who keeps His word has the final say. From the very beginning, prophecy has always been God's way of preparing His people, not to lead their curiosity, not to give them spiritual trivia, but to anchor their faith. Prophecy is God saying, I see what's ahead, and I won't let you walk into it blind. Think of Noah. Before the flood came, God didn't just say, good luck. He gave instructions. For behold, I will bring a flood of waters upon the earth to destroy all flesh in which is the breath of life under heaven. Everything that is on the earth shall die, but I will establish my covenant with you, and you shall come into the ark, you, your sons, your wife, and your sons' wives with you. Noah's family was saved, not because the prophecy sounded pleasant, but because it told the truth. Prophecy doesn't exist to soothe your ears. It exists to save your life. Centuries later, Daniel was given visions of kingdoms rising and falling. And in the days of those kings, the God of heaven will set up a kingdom that shall never be destroyed, nor shall the kingdom be left to another people. It shall break in pieces all these kingdoms and bring them to an end, and it shall stand forever. Babylon looked unstoppable. Persia looked untouchable. Greece looked invincible. Rome looked eternal, but prophecy cut through the illusion of permanence. Empires rise, empires fall, but God's kingdom stands forever. Think of Abraham. God told him in advance that his descendants will be strangers in a land not their own, enslaved for 400 years, but afterward brought out with great possession. Know for certain that your offspring will be sojourners in a land that is not theirs, and will be servants there, and they will be afflicted for 400 years, but I will bring judgment on the nation that they serve, and afterward they shall come out with great possessions. And it happened exactly as God said in Egypt. Think of Jesus. He told his disciples, "See, we're going up to Jerusalem, and the Son of Man will be delivered over to the chief priests and the scribes, and they will condemn him to death and deliver him to the Gentiles, and they will mock him and spit on him and flog him and kill him. And after 3 days, he will rise." And it happened exactly as he said. Prophecy isn't God guessing. It's God guaranteeing. That's why he gives it. Not to entertain your mind, but to prepare your heart. So when we ask, what's the purpose of prophecy? The answer is simple. It's not about prediction. It's about preparation. But here's the reality. Not everyone hears prophecy as good news. Why? Because if your life is built on comfort zones instead of Christ, prophecy feels like an eviction notice. It disrupts false security. It exposes idols. It reminds us that we're not in control. Fear doesn't come from prophecy itself. Fear comes from unprepared hearts. Fear comes from clinging to the world. Fear comes when truth confronts sin. Think back to Noah's day. For as were the days of Noah, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. In Noah's day, the prophecy of judgment was ignored. People laughed. People mocked. They carried on with life as usual until the flood came. And the flood did come, just as God said. But here's the thing. Prophecy didn't create the flood. It simply revealed the truth about what was already coming. The same is true today. Prophecy doesn't create fear. It reveals it. And here's the deeper issue. If your hope is in the temporary, prophecy will always sound like loss. If your heart is wrapped around possessions, prophecy feels like robbery. If your identity is built on this world, prophecy feels like the end of you. That's why Revelation's warning unsettles so many. The Bible speaks of Babylon falling, of judgments poured out, of the heavens shaking, and people panic, not because God is cruel, but because they built their lives on things that cannot last. It's like living in a house on sinking sand. When the storm comes, the warning isn't the problem. The foundation is. The same sun that melts wax hardens clay. The same prophecy that comforts the faithful terrifies the rebellious. If hearing God's promises unsettles you, it's not because his word is harsh. It's because your foundation is shaky. And here's the truth. You can't silence prophecy by ignoring it. The flood still came. The kingdoms still rose and fell. The cross still happened, and Christ will still return. So the question isn't whether prophecy is frightening. The question is, what does it reveal about your heart? But for those who trust in Christ, prophecy is not a threat. It's a promise. It's the assurance that God has not forgotten his people. It's proof that he is still in control. Now, when these things begin to take place, straighten up and raise your heads, because the redemption is drawing near. That's the heart of prophecy for the believer. It doesn't say the end is near. It says your redemption is near. That one word changes everything. End versus redemption. One fills the world with dread, the other fills the believer with hope. Because prophecy reminds us that the story doesn't end with disaster. It ends with deliverance. Think about the disciples. They watched Jesus ascend into heaven, and I'm sure their hearts longed for him to stay. But prophecy gave them something stronger than sight. It gave them expectation. Men of Galilee, why do you stand looking into heaven? This Jesus, who was taken up from you into heaven, will come in the same way as you saw him go into heaven. The same Jesus who walked with them. The same Jesus who healed the sick and raised the dead. The same Jesus who hung on the cross and rose from the grave. That same Jesus is coming back. Not an idea, not a memory, not a metaphor. The same Lord in glory returning for his people. That's why prophecy comforts the faithful, because it keeps the return of Jesus personal. It's not just about an event, it's about a person. And when we know who is coming, the chaos of what's coming doesn't shake us. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and death shall be no more. Neither shall there be mourning, nor crying, nor pain anymore, for the former things have passed away. That's not poetry. That's not wishful thinking. That's a prophecy, a future moment, guaranteed by the one who cannot lie. No more funerals, no more hospital beds, no more late night tears that nobody sees. For the faithful, prophecy isn't about escaping reality. It's about stepping into the ultimate reality, where God himself wipes the tears from our faces. So while the fearful see prophecy as an ending, the faithful see it as the beginning, the doorway to everything God has promised. Because comfort comes when you realize that prophecy isn't pointing to destruction, it's pointing to restoration. So let me ask you, when you hear prophecy, does it send you into panic or does it give you peace? Your reaction says more about your relationship with God than it does about prophecy itself. If your heart is tangled up in this world, every mention of the end feels like loss. Talk of Babylon's fall sounds like the collapse of your dreams. Talk of judgment sounds like the exposure of your secrets. Talk of Christ's return sounds like the interruption of your plans. But if your hope is in Christ, prophecy doesn't sound like loss. It sounds like home. Because prophecy isn't announcing where you're losing. It's reminding you of who you're gaining. Let not your heart be troubled. Believe in God. Believe also in me. In my Father's house are many rooms. If it were not so, would I have told you that I go to prepare a place for you? If you're clinging to this world, those words will sound inconvenient. But if you're clinging to Christ, those words are everything. So where do you stand? Does prophecy push you into fear or pull you into faith? Does it unsettle you because your life is built on shaky ground? Or does it steady you because your foundation is the rock of ages? Fear comes when you try to hold on to a world that's passing away. Comfort comes when you hold on to the one who never fades. Prophecy was never meant to scare you. It was meant to prepare you. And if you belong to Jesus, every prophecy is a promise. He is coming back for you. So don't run from prophecy. Rest in it. Don't treat it as doom. Treat it as a direction. Let it remind you that God keeps every word He speaks. If this encouraged you, share it with someone who needs hope today. And if you want to go deeper, check out my next video, True versus False Prophecy, How to Tell the Difference. Because prophecy doesn't just point to the end of the world, it points to the faithfulness of the God who holds it. I'm Estrella, and this is Luminance, where we bring the gospel into dark places.